We are grateful to have Dr. Toru IIYOSHI, the Director and Professor of Center for the Promotion of Excellence in Higher Education and the Professor of Graduate School of Education, Kyoto University, Japan, to deliver the speech with the theme, Technology Enhanced Higher Education, Opportunities and Challenges Beyond 2020. He will share with us the potentials of emerging technologies in supporting more personalized and collaborative lifelong learning. During the presentation, participants may submit questions in the Q&A box in Zoom. Dr. IIYOSHI, please.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted and honored to be part of this great event. I'd like to also thank to Chinese University of Hong Kong, to host this wonderful event. I like Hong Kong, been there many times. I have many friends and colleagues there, and I hope to see you all in person soon too. But without further ado, I'd like to start my talk. And I'm from Kyoto University in Kyoto. And, it's rather quiet because we cannot have many, almost non-international visitors. But I hope things become better, then, hope you can visit us again. We are the second oldest and the first research-oriented national university in Japan. So as you see on the program, these are the things I would like to cover in my talk. And as you know, of course, there's no way I can cover all this in details in my 50 minutes, 40 minutes, some talk. But you are aware, of course, now throughout this COVID-19, we are focusing more on online and hybrid learning. But then, we keep forgetting about there are a lot of pedagogical options in our hand, usually. But it's very hard for us to think out of box and keep thinking about the different modes of teaching or learning, unless something like a COVID happens and we are being forced to think differently about our day-to-day teaching and learning. And as Provost Professor Chan mentioned, it's not just about technology. So I came up with this many, but I'm pretty sure there are more. That starts with E and a very important aspects and elements of our teaching and learning. And some of the critical issues and tasks ahead of us, is again, we really have to think and rethink sometimes about the effective design, of curriculum, education methods, and resources. And I'm also talk about sharing open, some educational resources openly, so globally. But also, it is important to share the knowledge, of good learning and teaching widely, too. And of course, it's not just about our, some guts, or we need to be backed up, by the wealth, of data and analytics, as we all know. So let me talk quickly about this, because it's always very exciting to imagine the future of education. But it is always not easy actually to predict everything precisely. So this nice drawing I remember as a 6, 7-year-old kid when I saw this on the juvenile magazine in Japan, and it says a future school, right? How I think it's the 21st century because of course there's no computers in school in the late 60s. And so if you think about, either, I don't know, elementary, middle school, high school, or university, college, classrooms right now, this got, partly, things right. We all have some kind of device, smartphone, pad, or computers. Of course, they couldn't imagine those, so they got a gigantic, supercomputer like IBM, like computer. But interestingly, there's no human teachers, and it's projected. I don't know if the teacher is teaching remotely or some be a recorded lecture. But then robots are moving around, and then actually hitting some kids. And it's interesting because it's not the right things right now in Japanese schools. But around that time, I remember as a naughty, innocent kid, I was constantly being hit, by teachers. So what we can learn from something like this is, people's and societies' values, cultures, and ways of doing innocent things could change. And again, and that part, it was very difficult, maybe in the 60s, to think about how we use, some technology in what ways. And looking back, last 40 years. And so it's pretty much everybody's catching up right now. But when things started in 90s, maybe North America and Europe started. And then we experienced this e-decade in 90s, because emergence of internet. And then in 2000, I think many people remember OpenCourseware launched by MIT in 2001. And that was the first year of the 21st century. And so that was a very good example in opening up some things and sharing things in education. And of course, it's not just education. In many industries, that has been happening since around 2000. And these e-decades and O-decade were actually conceived by Professor Answorth at the University of Virginia, and he wrote a very nice article in 2004. I was inspired by that. And then, but I couldn't stop thinking about, okay, so if the old decade, 2000 is old decade, what would be the next decade? So what's 2010? And I pretty much made up innocent things. But it worked. Collaboration, collectivity, communities, commons, crowd computing. Maybe you could come up with a few more and many more. But that's how we've been experiencing innocence through education and beyond. But then somebody asked, well, I was talking about this, C decade. So what would be, the C decade was ending. So what would be a next decade? And I came up, maybe in the, bathroom or somewhere when I was taking shower, P decade. And that's, again, personalizations, reference-based, prediction, you name. Again, I made these up and came up with as many P things. But of course, I don't mind adding a pandemic, here, but that's not quite exciting things. So I decided not to do that. And it was 12 years ago. I feel like a long time ago. But toward the end of the old decade, I was working at the Carnegie Foundation in Silicon Valley at that time. And so I was joined by many great colleagues, around the world to, get this wonderful work done, to, collectively think about how this open education, things could continue to change the ways, so we learn and teach. And so again, this is the game of imagining the future, but building on what we have accomplished or working on in the realm of open education. And of course, a community of practice and reflection is always very important things. But this is exactly how these 38 authors and I have tried to do, through this, 3-year, pretty much, book project. And in that, I came up as an editor, co-editor, came up with these 3 kind of pillars. And open technology, open content, open knowledge. And not gonna go much in details of each of these things, but so these are mostly, from that time. But you can imagine a lot more, either open or semi-open, technology, so platforms and tools in education. And nonetheless to say, there are a lot of open educational resources around. Again, this pretty much covered all the pre-MOOC era, but I'm going to talk about a MOOC and beyond later. But there are, I don't know, maybe zillions, of open educational resources available on the internet and beyond. And the last but not the least, open knowledge is important. And from kind of academic education research point of view, it's by Lee Schulman, who was actually heading the Carnegie Foundation around the time I was working on this. This pedagogical content knowledge is the highest the knowledge in teaching and learning, because as an instructor you need to know what you need to teach, that the content knowledge, but then you have some knowledge about how to teach, and that's a pedagogical knowledge. But it's a combination of that is very important, because some like throughout the COVID, sometimes we're forced to teach online, and that's a part of pedagogy maybe, but we don't want to change the content students learn. So again, we need to be creative in coming up with new, maybe kind of pedagogical content knowledge. And as I just said, it's not easy and simple things. Is what knowledge of teaching and learning is. There are many elements like this, and all these elements are interacting with each other. Of course, the learners are in the center of the stage, with instructors. And then there's a learning and teaching context here. And so all these very complex things make education knowledge and experience. And as you know, it's not just snapshot things, it's happening every day. So, and changing. So again, how we could share the wealth of ongoing growing innocent knowledge, innocent of teaching and learning. And of course, innocent learning, teaching online, even create more evidence and data, so we could use. but even in regular face-to-face teaching and learning, we use a lot of outcomes and products of learning. So again, how we could organize and make sense of all these things, and when we share this kind of knowledge and the data, how we could make them intellectually engaging and meaningful. So so that's what we got to do. And also, I think I said this in the end of this book, but I hope that these things happening can happen simultaneously, so that again, it's not just about we can advance the tools and resources and also the use of them, but we together can improve and advance our both individual and collective knowledge of teaching and learning. So again, the book was done in 2008, but then some new things happened afterward, and that's what we wanted to call open practice. And as you recall, the 2012 was named by New York Times the year of the MOOC. And then now 8 years has passed, and this is the latest statistics. It doesn't cover everything, but covers I think the most of the activities in open education and MOOC. So this says from the numbers from Class Central, the very nice website. There are 880 million, over 180 million students using MOOCs. Close to about 1,000 universities participating in creation some MOOCs, and there are more than 16,000 courses. And surprisingly, there's already over 1,000, 1,100 micro credentials, which I'm going to talk a little bit in a second, and also MOOC-based degrees. And here are some distribution of by subject, and I'm always very impressed. This trend hasn't changed over several years, but it's really well balanced between science, technology, and humanities and social scientists, and some are more towards professional development. Some are more like liberal arts kind of stuff, and it's really well balanced. And if again we have already more than 60,000 MOOCs, there are a lot of things, courses we can choose from, no matter what students want to learn. So, and there are many applications, of this so MOOC, so that the MOOC is massive, but it could be a small open, it could be a small private, and it doesn't need to be a course long. It could be a small module. I made this up maybe, but before I change this O to A, I better move on. So let's talk about micro-credentials a little bit. And I think many of you know this Global Freshman Academy at Arizona State University, one of the largest US state universities. And they, about 5 years ago, they've decided to make all the first year kind of core curriculum courses available online as MOOCs. And so everybody actually doesn't need to, to become the students, officially students of Arizona State, but they can start taking those elementary courses, basic courses, as MOOC learners. And if they want, they could pay, to Arizona State. That's actually cheaper, than what Arizona State's students are paying per credit. But then, if you want to enter the university, that you can do that, or you could also exchange, the credit, as you take from these MOOCs from Arizona State when you apply, for different schools, maybe state schools that have, credit exchange agreement mutually. And MicroMasters are growing, as you know, and I have some colleagues, the PolyU, and they, I believe, one of the first university in Asia, who has embarked, on micro, some masters. And now it has been extended to micro bachelors. We still have only 5, 6 universities, but I believe this realm, will be growing as well. And it's not just universities, but also some educational, for-profit institutions, organizations are doing this. And Udemy, formerly Udacity, has been well known in providing, some MOOCs in highly professional, some domain, some such as, artificial intelligence, some data analytics, machine learning, and so on. So here's the things we like to think about, right? So current traditional degrees, some doctor, master, bachelor, associate, bachelor, they are just like a traditional currency, and they've been certificated and been recognized, some by governments, or international organizations. But then here's the emerging some of micro credentials, micromasters, nano degrees, and some specializations, and you name. And these again, universities don't necessarily to provide this. Pretty much everybody, anybody could provide these micro credentials. And what's important is whether the values, of these micro credentials can be accepted, by society, either internationally or locally. Just like a virtual currency. Virtual currency doesn't make sense if you cannot buy things with it. Again, but as far as micro credentials, valuable for people to get jobs or some to learn further to enter the higher level of schools. Some that have been accepted, some by society and beyond. So one of the huge challenges as the universities is, things will be very complicated. So when we think about the future of the college curriculum and also graduate school curriculums, because we also, need to think about, some of these existing credentials and the virtual, micro credentials like credentials, and how wisely, so we, universities, but also students and instructors could combine, some of these and mix and remix, some of these things. So it's exciting, but certainly, especially from the quality assurance point of view, that would be very challenging. So, these are things. I hope these slides will be shared with all of you, and you can read, all these things. But so the first bullet points, I already covered that. And also, we really have to think about the meanings of like my university's diplomas. Again, if we kind of remix, what commonly shared materials, some course materials or lectures available online. And quality assurance is important, and also, I think the former keynote speaker talk about this in more details and in a more practical ways. But it's very important. We could how we can make some these various competencies and skills some gained by each learner more visible and transportable, both locally and globally, but also, from kind of educational institutions kind of point of view, but also the employers kind of points of view too. And this is subway map of Tokyo in 1955. And over the last 60 years or so, it has been very complicated. And I was born and grew up in Tokyo. And now if I visit Tokyo from Kyoto, without help of my intelligent smartphone app, I cannot figure out how I can go from point A to point B. But if you think about, I think the world is of education is becoming, with open education, is becoming more like this. So the good news is there are maybe infinite learning pathways, from there. But can students figure out how best, they can go from point A to B? And that requires some intellectual, well-experienced support. And 9-10 months ago, it depends on the region, but here, I think this well captures how we feeling like when the COVID, some things started. So imagine a university is like this duck boat. We were told the teaching and learning on the land is no longer safe, so we need to jump in. We need to move to the water, right? But things were not that safe and easy. And many instructors, most instructors and students felt like they're forced to ride on a bike, that can go on land, on the water. Ideally, we wanted to be, on the kind of right, hand side person, with this beautiful vehicle. And this was the left-hand side, by the way, it was invented 100 years ago in France. And I'm pretty sure this professor will get soaked, at least lower bottom, of the body. And not going to go through how the Kyoto University reacted to this, and because I think each institution has its own story. We just learned from the case of University of Queensland in the keynote. But this is what the center I'm directing is doing normally And so you can imagine we have been very busy in responding, to this COVID situations as an institution. But regularly, again, hope you have chance to read, this later. But again, by incorporating different kinds of technologies and also online resources, we hope to accomplish, many goals, as seen, on this slide. And of course, we use a lot of data and analytics to figure things out. Not so much on predicting, some things yet, but I'm sure that's coming. But this is related to open knowledge, some part I mentioned at the beginning. And we been running this website that showcases good practice, very interesting practice, somehow our faculty members at Kyoto University using various kinds, of technologies. And we have English pages as well, so I'm showing them. And so it's not just about like a MOOC or LMS, OpenCourseware, but very interesting tools, since they been using, to sometimes get students, some more engaged, or sometimes it's, very small technology with a very interesting ideas, to make this kind of typical, for example, classroom, so more like, so things on YouTube or social media. Actually, bringing social media into the regular face-to-face teaching on live is indeed a very exciting thing, and that's mentioned in this right-hand side case. So so on this site, actually, so it was fairly straightforward for us, so when, if you remember, many universities started launching, this teaching online kind of support website in last March, April, maybe before that. And we launched this in March. And it consists of hundreds of pages and some documents, that help instructors and students to learn how best they could use these tools and platforms. And also not just a website, but like everybody, we've been providing numerous workshops. And also kind of guiding sessions for them, for our instructors and TAs and students to get familiar with this online blended hybrid learning and teaching. So I think, again, every university and college has its own stories too. But I think what we've been learning, especially now, I think many universities are doing hybrid. Yes, it's pain, as the keynote mentioned. It's not easy to do. But I think it's clearly our concept of blended learning, has been changed throughout, over the last 9 months or so. Because blended learning, has been there for a while, and but we typically we were talking about combining face-to-face and online learning. But many universities around the world have been now doing both modes, some teaching both, on demand and live. Both online. So all of a sudden, this concept is radically, being changed. And so that's why it used to be when we are talking about Minerva, we said, wow, that's amazing. But it's no longer that amazing, as you know, because we're so getting familiar with even this conference is being conducted online through Zoom. So this is Minerva's typical, some virtual classroom scene. But we still don't have this very smart technology, for example, on the upper left hand. So those students who actively participate in discussions, it's showing in red, and those who don't speak up much in the green, and that their platform, Minerva's platform, is smartly judging, this, so that instructor can get immediate feedback, in how moderating, how he's moderating, his online course. And I'm sure you've seen something like this, but this is the United States. What institutions are teaching in what modality? So, so I'm not going to go into details, and it covers some from full face-to-face to a full online. And as you can see, and hybrid blended in between. But as you see, these are very diverse. And also, it's organized by type, modality. Again, primarily in person, 20, hybrid 16%, primarily online. So again, it's very diverse, here. Of course, it depends, on the how badly the pandemic is going, some by regions or cities too. But interestingly, here's another cut, way of looking at the same data. So if they are private nonprofit universities and colleges, there is a tendency, so, they prefer more in-person, face-to-face course. But if they are public colleges and universities, again in the States, they prefer online, I assume, because the equity, and accessibility, is very important as a public institutions. But on the other hand, there's a lot of small private colleges that really promoting residential, education, for example. And for them, I think the value of face-to-face teaching or teaching learning on campus is, some very important and central. So we hope, this gonna end, that this COVID situation will end soon. But we are right now keep moving, from left to right or right to left, on this two-dimensional, actually one-dimensional, world, and it's being very stressful. But when things calm down, we hope we could come up with the best mix, so all these different kinds of teaching learning modes for many applications, like this. And I'm pretty sure some of you are already doing maybe many of these things, but we could further advance, all these efforts and projects from, by cashing in what we've been learning in this pandemic, some period. And again, when things come to AI, again, this is just for your information, but I'm a huge science fiction fan and been um, inspired in many ways. And so when I did this TED talk at Kyoto 5 years ago, this is supposed to be a 10-minute stand-up comedy, so the dialogue between this super cool artificial intelligence and me. And I've been asking, this super, AI, to help me with my lifelong learning and getting good jobs, kind of things. So I'm not gonna take you through this, but if you're interested in to learn how my view on how AI could be helpful, please watch this. It's only 10 minutes.
So, well, in my case, so what should I do after taking that online course?
Perhaps you can try to make a short movie. I have learned what movies you have been watching through the on-demand movie rental services over the last 15 years. You seem to like action, science fiction, and
Well, you can guess the rest. So what this is, yeah, I hope it's interesting. But also, just quickly, my good colleague and friend, the professor, um, he's a physics, some professor, and he'd been focusing on this peer instructions, um, for I think over 20 years, so. And also brought kind of AI, like analytical tool, into his classroom. And so as he promotes this kind of active learning using kind of response system, the system can keep track of all the students' responses, either it's correct or wrong, and then try to help with optimizing the effective learning pair in learning physics. So I talked a lot about this with Professor Mazul, and it's partly scary, but certainly there's a lot, possibilities of using AI to guide students through in their learning, something like this. So, I often show this slide too. So about 20 years ago, we were excited about this T-shaped person. It's I think Tim Brown at IDEO in Silicon Valley started advocating this. Then, as open education, not activist, but a supporter, so I've been advocating, for this comb shape, some person. That means, since a lot of expertise, can be gained, since through lifelong learning. And I believe that our society is becoming, some more like this with the seamless integrations of working and learning. And again, open education and online learning can serve as a kind of operating system, of this new kind of higher education in the 21st century. So to conclude, I think we really need to help our students, to imagine, what kind of future world will be like, and also what and how they should learn. Of course, when they're still on the campus and through their college life, but well beyond, that. So this is a few years ago in one of my graduate seminars. I asked graduate students, and then actually I tried this on undergraduate students later too. And Game of Life, some very popular board game. And I asked them to redesign this board game for 21st century because the educational process shouldn't be linear as 50 years ago. And interestingly, they came up with many interesting ideas about totally change, butcher more like this game. So these are things they come up with. Here is the kind of mock-up, some prototype, some what they did. So it's in Japanese. But and they said, through this process, it took, several weeks at least. They had to think about a lot about the relation between their education and their job and, for life. So this is my last slide. And again, this is just, I'm pretty sure many of you have thought about this already, but all these things are radically changing, so right now. So, I don't know how much discussion the time is left, but we'd like to discuss, some of these things. So thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you so much for your sharing, Dr. IIYOSHI. If anyone has questions, please feel free to submit them to the Q&A box in Zoom, and some of them will be picked for Dr. IIYOSHI. We actually already have questions for you. So one of our attendees named Mark, he would like to ask, can you tell more about guidance and counseling for instructional design? And how did you do this successfully?
Well, it started with, thank you for the question. And we started with, like all the instructors, look at your syllabus. And sometimes you have to change, revise your syllabus, some because you're not intended, but this was not intended, teaching full online, for example. So then, so again, that's, thinking about the way and also the sequence of their course teaching, more flexibly. But then also introduce some kind of online pedagogies, right? Because people, instructors tend to think of, should, some teaching online, I cannot do this or that. But again, we want them to learn, how they could, substitute, what they've been doing in a regular face-to-face into not just maybe one tool fits to all, and it's need to go beyond just Zoom and LMS. But sometimes they have very limited view on these online, some teaching learning tools. So again, that's what I meant, some by, and also we found one of the most effective ways of doing is having the typical instructors. I think it's ideal. I didn't teach, online. I never taught online, and so I was, facing this as a novice, right? About 6 months later, I learned a lot, and here is how I do, things. So, so that kind of a peer learning among instructors, have been, so we've been, doing for maybe 15 times already, inviting, all the instructors from different departments to share their good practice on online teaching and hybrid, some learning.
Okay, we also have another question from Marianne. We would like to ask, do you still practice the live comment posting during live lectures? And did you experience not so good comments? And how did you manage such? And what's the impact between teachers and learners?
I do. And as an instructor, I have the right to pick any comments, as I like to pick. But also, again, I try not to ignore kind of negative comments or not so welcome, some comments, because that's a great experience for learners, how we could cope, with this and how to think differently by something they might not be comfortable hearing, this. So, I'm not saying turning the negatives into positives, but again, that's what we as instructors really got to learn, and especially teaching online is to some extent not safe, and some things unexpected, some could happen, right? But also, we could also build a vigilant learning community live too, and also using asynchronous kind of means. So I think that's the great moment, for educators to further evolve ourselves. I think. Thanks.
So this marks the end of this Q&A session. So thank you again, Dr. Iyoshi.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
thank you for the questions. And sorry I couldn't answer everything, but thank you.
Thank you.